opening reception of Fundamental Facets, work by Reuter. Thank you so much for coming here. It is great to see you all out here. We are super excited for this show. It was really fun to hang, and it's going to be a great exhibition. We're about to get started with the gallery talk. A little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I just wanted to remind everybody that today is the Rockport Art Loop, so we're having an opening from 4 to 7, and there are 8 other galleries along Austin Street also having an opening from 4 to 7. You'll know which galleries they are because you'll see little whirligigs, like rainbow pinwheels, out from each of the galleries. And I know some of them have some demos. Stan Urban is having a demo at 5:30 if you want to go over there and see that. But we're really trying to make this like a big art experience for you all. And also one more thing to remember, we've got an iron pour next weekend here with Greg. We're going to start selling these scratch blocks. I'll have him talk about those a little bit, but at 5 o'clock, and then the iron will start being poured at 7 o'clock. So we've got that. And I am now pleased to introduce Greg Reuter, the star of the exhibition. He was a professor at TMUCC for 40 years and just retired last year.
Retirement is wonderful.
He's an incredible artist. He has a wide range of kind of materials and subject matters, but all kind of fitting in the coastal imagery and found objects and like artist theme. So I'm going to let him talk. I don't think you're not going to microphone?
No.
He has a teacher's voice, so he doesn't have to do this. But he's going to talk a little bit about his work, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. Thank you.
So first I would like to thank Luis and Elena and all the staff at the center here. They have really treated me like a professional, and that is always nice to have happen. And for them to help support this exhibition, I think it's really important. I'd like to start with the studio. That's the name of this sculpture in the middle. And during the hurricane, many of the artists here in Rockport, their studios were decimated. So I thought if there was a way we could give back to those artists and help them rebuild their studios, what could I do? And so I also wanted to hide the pole in the middle of this gallery. But so I decided where I'd build a studio structure, and then I would invite the artists that had some trouble with their studios, where the hurricane hurt them, and go to their studio where they're working now and take their tools and put them onto a vacuum form machine and vacuum form those tools. And so on this side of the studio is Anita Dibble. You know her, she lost everything in the hurricane. And so the idea behind this on how we could help support them is if you wanted to purchase one of those panels, you could, and then that money would all go to Anita. She would not have to pay a commission to the center or not either. There is a group, Elena made one and Luis made one, and then the rest of the staff made one. So that money would then go right back to the Center for the Arts. So that's what this is about. We have Martha Berkebile on the other side, and Terry Reynolds and Kathy Reynolds. The pictures of their studio in what happened after Harvey is just, it was flat. They had nothing. I mean, and the tools were all, people came and took the tools, and so it would be really a wonderful gesture if somebody could help some of the artists out. So that was the idea, to help rebuild Rockport after Harvey. So let me talk about some of these other pieces, because there's a real variety of facets here. And we'll start with the bird. I always, in Rockport, a lot of the artists focus on birds and the sea, and so I thought it was appropriate to put a bird in the show. And the reason why I made this piece is when I moved to Texas in 1978, I never had seen a hooded oriole. In fact, I didn't see them very rarely, even up until recently. And I started to wonder why I'm starting to see them. And I looked online and found that their summer range in 2000 was only as high as Brownsville. And now in 2018, we've got a pair that live in our backyard. And I collect their nests, and they're just a wonderful bird. And by 2080, whoops, it's down here, their nesting area is going to be up in North Dakota. I put this in the show. One of the other aspects of my work is I love to go to the beach and collect textures off of the sand, sort of trace remains. And that's what this piece is about, is different textural qualities that I've found on the beach. And we've all walked in the sand and seen cool stuff. And some of these tiles are from a project where I did a year in sand and went to the beach every month for a year. I know it's a tough job, but somebody has. And I collected a variety of things. And this one down here is ants. I had never seen ants at the beach before, but they dig tunnels and they travel around also on the beach. I guess they vacation out there. And then, you know, we have crab tracks, of course. This particular tile was taken in California, on the Pacific coast. The end of that project, that year in sand project, the last tile was in December, and there was a sea star on the beach. That kind of gave me chill bumps when I saw that. I said, ooh, that's a nice one. So I took that mold. And about halfway through the project, I started looking at the holes in the sand, wondering, what's in those holes? What do they look like? And so they're crab burrows, and that's what they look like. Wow. And I just love the texture. I mean, the whole project was about texture, and you know, how they dig the hole is with their little crab claws. So you end up with this really interesting textural quality.
So how did you get that?
Yeah. So how did I get it? Well, first I poured plaster down the hole. The little crab come running out. I knew he had an exit. I grabbed him and washed him off and threw him into the dunes. And of course the seagulls probably got him. But then I had to dig a hole in the sand next to it. You can't just pull it out because it's plaster. It's very weak. So I started digging down. It's 4 feet long, so you can imagine my feet are sticking out of this hole, and the park ranger comes up. What are you doing? And I didn't want to tell him that I casted the crab burrow. I said, well, I'm digging. And he says, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean you can't dig at the beach? And finally he just thought I was crazy and left. But you dig a hole that's right next to it. You kind of feel it, and then you pull it to the side, and you can lift it out. And then I have to take it back to the studio, take a rubber mold off of that, cast it in wax, and then do the lost wax casting process. So it's very complicated.
How did you know that you had enough plaster that you were going all the way to the bottom?
Oh, cross my fingers. 5 gallons, that's as much as I ever would mix in it. That took about 3 gallons, I think.
So it fills up and then when it's full,
It just
you
pops,
see it to the
yeah.
top.
So how'd you get it to go up that little canal?
I just
You
added
put,
pressure.
now you want all the tape. I put a big funnel-like form. I just wrapped, I think it was tar paper, and I stuck it kind of up the top. But I wanted it far enough away so it didn't disturb the sand, so I kind of held on to that. And I poured it down that, and I had a reservoir, and that pressure pushed it down and made it come back up.
So is that second sort of pipe the escape hole?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't far enough away for them to get away from me. Finally got it. All right, and then of course back here we've got blue blood, which is this horseshoe crab. And the reason why I made this piece is, first of all, they're just really cool horseshoe crabs. And I found this. Actually, my mother-in-law found this on the East Coast in North Carolina. But they have a blue blood, and we use their blood to help kidney patients, which is wonderful. but we're harvesting them to extinction. So that's not so easy. We gotta figure out how to get the blood out and then let them go. Take a little bit, tap them. Anyway, so that's why that exists. This is a smaller crab burrow and just a texture from the sand. This is actually a copy of the very first crab burrow. And then as we go around, we have the Freedom and Loyalty boat. And I printed these up at the shop with Ryan and his students. And so there's a bird printed here on this side and a dog on the other. So birds and dogs, you know, can't beat it. And then when I went to make this sail, I was talking to a friend, a neighbor of mine, Ray Horn. And I think Ray's here. He's hiding somewhere. But he's a sailmaker. And so I laid all these patches out and said, so can you make a sail out of that? He said, sure. So that was how that existed. I love to collaborate with other artists. I mean, I think that for me, collaboration is the way we have to get along. And hopefully we'll start collaborating on everything. The keys. Back here, it's just about making choices, choosing the right key. That's what that piece, why that exists. And I hadn't planned it for this show, but Elena really loved it and wanted to put it in, and it has a perfect spot for it. So here it is. And then this body of work over here are my roots are in clay. You know, I started out as a potter, and so in retirement, I love that rhythm of pottery, and so I'm going to try to bring that back into my studio. I'm going to still make sculpture, and you know, I'm very eclectic, but that's where this direction is coming from. It's my new start, using old techniques. This particular technique is called ghosting, and I learned it from an artist named Paul Solner, who invented raku, American style. And I Reuterize these pots. So I blow them up, and it reminds me of when you throw a rock in the mud and it splats up. And so that's why there's 3 of them that have that I've Reuterized, I blew up. And the others are just have stoppers in them, and they're like sculpture bases. So. Any questions? I think I got it.
I have a question.
Sure.
So it seems like you use a lot of like eating symbols in this work, like the bird, the dog, and the kind of just the decapitated head. Like, can you talk a little bit about what draws you to the symbols and why you choose to use certain ones when?
Well, the heads grew out of a trip to Japan when I was in Kyoto at a garden, a rock garden. And there's this one specific garden that has 16 rocks that are all separated. You can't see them all at one time. It's a beautiful garden. I know the name is Roji Koye, I think. Urayanji. I'm close. And I was drawing in that garden for a long time, and the rocks became heads to me. I just started seeing faces in them, and that's what. So when I came back to my studio, I started making heads. And this particular one that's up there doesn't have any eyes or ears. It's non-judgmental. You know, it's just there. And so I did a whole series of pieces like that. And there's one piece that's in the movie DOA with Dennis Quaid. And I remember Frank was in the movie, and he turned around and he goes,
We kept watching for it.
and he says, damn, I'm going to have to watch this movie again. I didn't see it. But that's where that came from. And then, of course, dogs. I've made dogs since I was a kid out of clay. I mean, we just do that. And it's unconditional love, it's loyalty. Dogs are great. And birds are freedom. You know, we just like to be able to fly. Any other questions?
What about the head in the boat?
Well, he's just cruising along. He's got his, he has eyes. So he knows where he's going.
Navigate. Where do you get the wood for that?
That was in my backyard. It was just a piece of mesquite off of the tree, and I just hollowed it out and carved it. How about another question? Oh, come on, I love talking.
Okay, tell me about the piece on the top of the keys. You added some sort of ceramic piece up there.
Well, it actually isn't. It's plaster.
Oh, it's plaster?
It looks ceramic,
Oh, yeah.
but I made that at the beach. I would take my students every year to go to the beach, and we would use the sand as mold material. And so we dig holes, and then we pour plaster in and fill them up. And that's what that is. That's two separate pieces. I made the seed first. And then when it set up, I had it next to the hole that I dug for the rest of the shape. And I poured plaster in there, and then you wait, and just at the right time you can put it in when it's still wet, but it's not liquid. And so I call those beach seeds. I love walking up and finding free stuff at the beach. And so I just love to make things that seem like they would be found at the beach. So I did a whole series of beach seeds.
Beautiful show.
Yeah, thank you.
So what's next? Like what's your next exploration of work?
Well, the first thing I need to do is get my studio back in shape. It's a mess. And then I'm going to start a series of ceramic objects. And I've been invited to do a few things, so I have to stay focused and get ready for that. Stan Irving and I are going to have an exhibition in Beeville, I think. I don't know when, but we're going to have one. And so Stan sets a pretty high bar, so I'm going to have to get to work.
How about any classes or workshops?
I don't have anything planned at this point.
He's retired.
How did you get that really cool graphite look to that?
The way the plastic is, it's shiny on one side and dull on the other. And so that's just the way the plastic is. I love it.
So you didn't color that at all?
I didn't do anything to it.
Wow.
The show that Greg and Stan are in is in January
Oh, is it in
at
January?
Coastal Bend College. And in the afternoon from 2 to 5, they're going to do a workshop.
Oh.
Be careful what you wish for. For about 3 hours, they're going to play when whoever shows up.
We'll Reuterize. I'll blow some things up.
Can that last 3 hours?
I think
Yeah.
so.
And
Because we'll be waiting for the ambulance. It's always been my dream. I've always been jealous of Kent.
Artists never retire.
Oh, that's right. So, next Saturday, we're going to do an iron fort, and I'm bringing 3 friends in, one from Waco and Abilene, and 2 from Waco and 1 from Abilene. And then Letitia from the university in Corpus Christi is going to help. And there'll be some students there, and we're going to pour iron. And we have scratch blocks that we're going to prepare that the Rockport Center will sell. I think we'll have 20 of them, maybe more, I don't know. And it depends on how I do next week. And then if you've never seen iron being poured, it's a spectacular thing. We'll do our first tap at 7 o'clock, so it should almost be dark.
well, Greg, you want to explain what a scratch block is?
Well, a scratch block, I'm bad at this stuff. It's resin bonded sand, and it's a tile, basically. It looks like a tile, and you can scratch a design into that, and we'll have some tools that you can do. And there's a picture of scratch blocks on the website. Post it again.
I'll post it again on
Yeah.
Facebook.
And then they pour the iron.
And then we pour the iron directly into this negative, and you end up with a positive.
Very heavy positive.
Yeah, it's a 4-pound piece. And you know, it's carving in sand. It's like, I haven't gone very far, you know, the sandbox. I just keep playing with sand.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Greg, for being here and for talking about your work. This work is absolutely phenomenal, and I feel honored to have it in our lives. So thank you so much. Please do stick around, look at the work. He's in a bright pink shirt if you have more specific questions for him. We've got some refreshments in the back, and like I said, there's 8 other galleries on Oxford Street also having openings. Just look for the rainbow pinwheels. And yeah, that'll be fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, I'm glad we saw you there. We're going to see you here.
And I'm back in and this is called the studio. And people are supposed to buy these individuals, and that money goes back to the artist. So it's kind of a fundraiser, give back to the artist.
That's awesome. Great idea.
Yeah. Anita Dibble has a gallery here in town. These are hers. And